Yo, what up?
Yo, BTV Sports is in the building. What it is, everybody, is Jason Enrique along with
Mr. Yahtzee himself. You go, boy.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And this is episode, I don't know what, 4 or 5, whatever it is.
Six.
This is 6. All right, thank you very much, Marv. We got Marv behind the glass. Thank you very much. Here at lovely Garfield, New Jersey at Bravery Studios.
Yes, sir.
Bravery up. We ain't got no drops today, but we won't work with it.
It's all good.
But but you know what though? We're not alone.
No.
It's not just Ugo boy, I should say, and Jason Enrique. We got two stellar sports fans here, all the way from New Jersey and New York, respectively. We got Dez and we got Carlos. What's up, brothers?
What's up, boys? What's up, boys?
What's going on?
I'm glad to be here tonight.
Yeah, so a little bit of backstory. So, Carlos, you've actually been on First Class, Second Place before when we had the great Joe Benigno on for the second time on First Class, Second Place. And that's where Ugo got to make his debut on First Class, Second Place. And that was an episode. And as far as my other friend here, Dez, he's actually way back in the beginning of First Class, Second Place, but this is when it was audio only. But we've talked a multitude of sports, and we did a Spike Lee episode that I think you guys should definitely check out. That was really dope to do. And but I'm actually excited to have you guys here. And I'm, excited to get into the sports talk.
Started from the bottom, now you're here. I can't wait.
It's come a long way.
He's with you shooting in the gym. I like
Yeah, but let's get into it. Week 3 in the NFL is officially a wrap. It's now going into week 4, but yes, we got a lot to cover. I know that Ugo has been waiting to get this off his chest for a minute, especially since he was. Good thing he didn't bet this point spread or the money line at this point.
I lost a lot of tokens.
But where should we start? Should we start with quote unquote America's team, or should we start off with the woebegone New York Jets?
We've got guests here. You got to be respectful for the company. So I think we should start with the New York teams first.
All right.
And we'll make our way to America's team.
But before we do that, actually, more respectfully, let's introduce the audience a little bit to who these gentlemen are. So let's start off with that. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and discuss a little bit of your New York sports fandom.
You're talking to America.
Yes,
America.
indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yep.
Good evening, everybody. How we doing? Des Purse here, live in effect, by way of Westchester County, New York. Also spent some time down in the DMV area. Shout out to the DMV. But at the same time, man, this, like I said, this isn't my first time rapping with Jason. I'm glad I'm here with Ugo. I'm glad I'm here with Carlos. Big sports fan. Literally can talk to you about any sport, anytime, any place. I currently work for the graphics department at CBS Sports Network.
Light flex. Light flex.
So he's legit. He's legit.
Hey, I'm just happy to talk my talk, and I don't have to worry about being technical or being right to the point. I love to give my opinion and not have to worry about holding back. So we're going to get it popping for the night. Yes, indeed.
Yes, sir.
Right,
yes,
right.
sir. Ski.
I love it. And now, Carlos, tell us a little bit about where you're from and your sports fandom.
Mr. Financial. Mr. Financial.
We got student loans coming back. So. And but I'm actually excited to have you guys here. And I'm, excited to get into this.
But a big sports fan. Originally from Queens, most of my life in Jersey. Right now I'm in
the gym. I like
Yeah.
And you know how I started off being a Jets fan? I was in kindergarten. I'll never forget this. And I remember the lesson of the week was be a leader, not a follower. I'm like, okay. And,
usually that's great advice, but I don't think it applies.
I don't know what you got on that side.
Hear me out.
I can't talk because I follow the same path as you do.
It's about 93% of my friends are Giants fans.
Shout out to them.
And whatever.
Des likes that.
That's good to know.
Oh, listen, I'm not a Giant hater. Not a Giant hater by any means. That was lesson of the week, and it just so happened to be the Super Bowl, Bills versus Giants. And the whole house, I remember I lived in North Bergen at the time. We're in the apartment watching the game. Everybody in the house was going for the Giants. And I heard my teacher's voice, Mrs. Golden, right? Rest in peace.
Sure.
And I was like, I'm not going to be a Giants fan. And I'm definitely not going to be a Bills fan. I'm going to be a Jets fan.
Here we are.
My children are cursed to be Jets fans forever.
Oh, they were born into it.
They were born in. They have no choice.
And the crazy thing is, you're a young guy, but that gray hair started coming out very early.
Yeah.
I think I was 29, 30 when I first saw my. They actually start off red or brown, and they start changing color. Yeah, now they're straight white. All good. That's what 5 girls will get you.
Yep.
He's got a WNBA team. I tell you all. On camera.
Either that or the whole squad to Bring It On Part 2 or something.
Yeah, one or the other.
I got a few athletes in there.
All right, there you go. There you go.
Shout out to you, girl, Dad.
But you know what? I think your wife is the MVP because popping out 5 girls, man, that's...
So, yeah, man. But to be technical, she had one and I had one.
Oh,
Got
okay.
married, had to be together.
Okay.
So we got the real life Brady bunch.
That's what's up.
All right, fellas, once again, thank you for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. You guys are the first guests here on Yo BTV Sports. I love it. And couldn't think of any other guys. Also, shout out to Joe Benengo. Have you on very soon, buddy. But yeah, let's get into it. I want to start off with the Jets here real quick because this was a real important game. I know that it was week 3, but everybody was saying that this is a must win, especially since we had lost. Before this game, we had lost 14 straight to the New England Patriots, unfortunately. Our last win came in December 2015 when Ryan Fitzpatrick was the quarterback and Todd Bowles was the head coach.
It's magic.
Yep.
Yeah, it's magic.
And but this was definitely a beatable team. The Patriots are not anything like they were back then. Tom Brady's long gone. You still have Bill Belichick, so that defense is going to be good. And that he dispassionately hates the Jets as much as I hate tax creditors and everything. But the thing is that this was a beatable game, and I'm totally convinced that if Aaron Rodgers never popped his Achilles, this definitely would have been not only a win, but it definitely would have been a blowout. That's how confident I felt in this game. But unfortunately, we were reminded once again after 4 plays in week 1 that we are Jet fans after all. We can't have nice things. Right. Aaron Rodgers is out for the season. Now we're stuck with the worst quarterback in all of the league right now. Yeah. And here we are thinking that we're gonna find this magic elixir that he's gonna finally zip it and so on and so forth, and he's gonna crack the code against Bill Belichick's defense. And nope, I feel like I'm watching Reservoir Dogs once again because I already know how this movie ends. But the crazy thing is that Zach Wilson was horrible, but he's looked worse in other games because he didn't have a pick. He just held on the ball too long. He took sacks that he shouldn't have taken and so on and so forth. And the defense actually held them to 10 points early on. And if it was for Randall Cobb that actually made that one catch, then we would have broken the streak.
Why is he on the field?
Aaron Rodgers. That's the only reason why he's on the team in the first place. But yeah, 15 straight losses. It's a demoralizing loss. And once again, everybody's talking about how Zach Wilson is the worst quarterback in the league and they got to stop babying him. And now there's talk about rumors going on in the locker room that there's going to be a divide that's ready to implode because they keep on babying the kid and not holding him accountable, this, that, and the third. It just feels like I mentioned earlier that it feels like a movie I'm watching over again, but it feels like it's like becoming a repeat of last year, and that's the last thing that we want right now.
Right. To me, I think that Coach Saleh's doing the right thing. I look at it, who is our other option? Nobody on the team, right? They brought in Trevor Siemian. He's a scrub. He got dropped for someone who's never had an NFL completion from, what was it?
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Come on. Somebody, Browning, right?
Yeah,
this
Jake
guy
Browning
has never completed a pass in his career. And they dropped Trevor Siemian, who's probably completed a couple hundred. I have no idea, but you would say a couple hundred.
He had some okay games in Denver. He's not the answer.
No one who's a free agent is the answer. You hear people, Wentz, Ryan, those guys are washed.
But here's my problem, though.
Washed.
This is something that they should have that should have taken care of in the offseason because Rodgers is 39 years old. There was a more than likely chance that maybe he would have missed a game or two, or maybe he would have pushed through it because he did play with that broken thumb last season, especially with that offensive line. It's pretty shaky. So we would have expected to possibly have a contingency plan just in case something like this would happen. And they could have gotten a Jacoby Brissett early on. They could have got, like with the Giants in particular. I'll say this. Daniel Jones, I think he's going to stay mostly healthy for the season, if not the whole season. But if, for God forbid, would something happen to him, you have a suitable backup in Tyrod Taylor. He's proven himself as a backup. He's the quintessential backup quarterback in the league right now. So you're going to be fine on that front. And I just feel like the Jets really fumbled the ball on this as far as getting a backup quarterback, or lack thereof getting a backup quarterback, because everybody's just saying it, and I hate repeating it, but it does feel like this is all because the Jets want to justify Zach Wilson being the number 2 overall pick 2 years ago, and we have seen nothing. There's no evidence that. I remember last season there was comparisons to him and Jamarcus Russell. Same statistics. That's pretty goddamn bad.
Wow. Horrible. The issue is, I was talking, shout out to Kenny Pikowski. He works with the world famous Harlem Wizards. He's a super Jet fan. He knows Fireman Dan. He knows the whole lot of them.
Fireman Ed.
I'm like, Dan, is that
is that the one from Living Color? Okay, look.
Let me tell you something.
Mark loves that one. Mark loves that one. But no, shout out to him. I met with him today earlier, and he was long suffering. He belongs on the show. Gotta get Kenny on the show. The way I broke it down, because shout out to Tony Romo, amazing color commentator with CBS Sports. That was.
I felt like he could have been the offensive coordinator
honestly,
because he was telling us what he was seeing before the ball was snapped.
Exactly. I caught the second half of the game. I was at Harlem Wizards camp, so I wasn't able to catch the first half. But I was like, okay, I'm locked in. I got some time. I'm gonna watch the second half and really see what is the issue with Wilson? Because we talked about on a previous episode, but you guys weren't here. I want to know what the plan is. I want to know what the problem is. I want to know what Hackett's trying to do. Is he trying to scheme up some easier throws for him? Is he trying to mix in the run? What is the plan? Because I don't know what the plan was. And so I really want to see it. And where Romo did such a great job is showing that Wilson's not seeing easy day one install reads. He's not seeing the easy stuff.
And he's in year 3.
So when I was talking with several Jet fans, including Kenny, as well as Jason, he was never developed to play on this level. And that is a fundamental, foundational, systemic issue with you guys' scouting department. You guys fell in love with his workout. You guys got catfished. It's just that simple. You got catfished. You fell in love with his workout. You fell in love with his tape. You fell in love with his one-legged throws off platform, looking like Patrick Mahomes. Like Jason knows exactly what throw I'm talking about, and the comparisons to Patrick Mahomes and so forth and so on. And your scouting department was like, you know what? That's Patrick Mahomes. We can get him in our system, and not knowing big fish, little pond. He played at BYU. Right. Name me the last great BYU quarterback, not named Steve Young, that came out in the NFL. I'll wait. We'll be here 5 episodes from now. You see what I'm saying? Your scouting department dropped the ball. They saw Mahomes-esque traits, but that doesn't mean he's Patrick Mahomes. That means he's nowhere near there. So he needs to develop. Basically, what's going on with Trey Lance? How basically he got traded to Dallas, and he is on the scout team. He's inactive. He's the emergency break glass in case of emergency. If everybody gets COVID or everybody gets into a car accident before the game, he's your emergency quarterback. But he's running with the scout team. We are going from quarterback 101 development with Trey Lance. Basically, he's a rookie again. They've even interviewed him about what's life like right now. That's what Zach Wilson needs. Because Trey Lance needed that. Because in San Francisco, they fell into Brock Purdy, who played 10 years in college, who's super developed. But Shanahan and that offense, they can't develop quarterbacks. Just like your development, your coaches, you guys can't develop quarterbacks. It's just plain and simple. So you guys, that's the problem you guys are in right now. And it's showing on the field. It's showing on the tape. And it's showing the fact that Romo's showing simple over routes. This is the first read right here. Zach, throw the ball. Zach, what are you holding the ball for? Zach, throw the ball. He needs to start from quarterback 101, like quarterback 100 back in freshman year.
So I'm so glad you brought that up, because one thing I'm seeing on tape watching Zach Wilson, I think he's really lacking confidence right now.
Oh, well, it's completely shot.
Right? So that being shot, you got a kid going out there literally off the first snap. He's probably shitting bricks.
Yeah.
So therefore, I think the Jets also have to take accountability for this part too.
Oh,
you drafted this kid, and you wanted to develop him, but at the same time, at some point, you probably saw he wasn't ready. But you put him in that position to see if he's going to become better than what he's showing, okay? I want to go back to not this past draft, the draft before, where the Jets killed it, okay? We're talking about that draft class with Sauce
right?
And Jermaine Johnson.
That was such a great draft class.
Hall.
Okay?
Lovely draft.
So going into this past draft class, 2023, when the Jets went, they picked 15th overall. What was the draft order? When they picked Will McDonald.
Oh, they were, it was 15th because they had 13, but they traded with the Packers to get Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, right. So this is how I look at it. Not necessarily in the first or second round, but at some point in those 4 rounds, I literally think the Jets could have drafted a kid as a safety blanket in this situation. I know the focus was Aaron Rodgers. We were waiting so long for it to be official news Aaron Rodgers was a Jet, but I really think they dropped the ball in even bringing another guy, either drafting a guy or even bringing in a veteran QB that can not only help Zach Wilson with his confidence, both of them at QB2, QB3, but he really just needs that culture. He needs that room to come together. And if you just have A-Rod, it wasn't enough for the kid.
No.
It just wasn't enough. You didn't put enough around him. But, going forward, I'm very scared for the Jets because you had a chance to try to see if you can bring in somebody. And, we've heard the rumors, they think they can go trade for a guy like Kirk Cousins because Minnesota
is give up too much, and we've got Aaron.
And the cap.
And the cap on top of that. The money is important. Yeah. So I am scared for the rest of the Jets season, and because what's going to happen is you only got so many more games left until that defense, they're going to get mad. And everybody's not going to be on the same page, and this is going to be a real waste of a season.
This is what's going to happen. Let me jump in real quick. This is my last point. I'll hop out. Simeon's going to play. All right, he's not going to play probably for another 2 or 3 weeks because he's got to get ramped up. Learn probably 2 games. I give it 2 weeks. He's got to get ramped up, has to get familiar with the playbook, but then he's going to play. And what's going to happen is this time, because this is the second time you guys are going to have to give up on Zach Wilson?
Yeah.
This time when you guys give up on him, there's absolutely no going back. Because what's going to happen is the confidence is already on less than 0 now. So he gets benched and deactivated for a second time. Next year, how do you sell to him, listen, you're still in our plans and we still want to, no, you can't do that. He's going to be deactivated, and mark my words, you guys are either going to find a trade suitor for a 7th or a conditional pick, or you're going to have to cut him outright and start over from scratch because Aaron Rodgers isn't married to you guys. There's no guarantee. He very well might come back next year. I think he will. There's no guarantee past next year, though. What I'm saying is what you're playing at quarterback. So I think Simeon eventually is going to play. And I think this is the beginning, because even Mike Lombardi said, they're getting ready to really move on from Zach Wilson because he is, in this window, he is showing unequivocally that he's not ready to play at this level, that mentally he's not ready to play at this level, physically he's not ready to play at this level. I don't even think he knows the playbook. Just from watching, just from my 2 eyes, just watching, he doesn't look like a guy that has a command of the offense, the checks, the reads, the hots, understanding coverages and whatnot. He looks like it's going way too fast for him, and he doesn't know what he's doing. And to be in year 3,
yeah.
Usually there's supposed to be a jump from 2 to 3. 1, you give him a pass. All right, you're still learning the game.
Right. Even last year.
Even last year. Yep. 2, you're just like, all right, let's begin to see it. 3 is when the quarterbacks makes the jump.
Yep.
You make the jump in year 3. Because if you ain't making it in year 3, when are you going to make it? I think this is the beginning of the end for him. I'm just saying it.
Let's say the Jets were to beat the Chiefs on Sunday. How do you think people will be talking about Zach on Monday?
You know what? I'm glad that you brought that up because I have a point here. So I actually feel, let's just say miraculously, the Jets actually pull out a win.
21-20.
Yeah, something like that. Okay. So let's just say hypothetically, this is the most Jetsiest thing that could happen. All right.
Yes.
So the Jetsiest thing that's going to happen are the 2 scenarios, and they're both very Jetsy. One, they get blown out on Sunday Night Football, the biggest stage, because they usually don't do very well at all during these games, except for the week 1 where unfortunately Rodgers was lost for the year. But then we get blown out, and then everybody's going to be talking about how great the Chiefs look, their defense, and also about the hoopla with Taylor Swift, because that's the big story right now. The big story now is the Taylor Swift, the Travis Kelce, and they're also going to talk about Zach Wilson, how bad Zach Wilson was in this, that, and the third. But if the Jets were to win, all the news medias are going to just talk about how did the Chiefs actually let them lose to the Jets, or maybe Taylor Swift is bad karma. Maybe she shouldn't come to MetLife because that's the reason they won. We won't get the proper respect if we do win that game. Now, I don't think we're going to win. I actually think it's going to be closer. I know that Vegas has this 9.5 point underdogs. I think it's actually going to be a little bit closer to that because I do like that defense. I think that defense is a little underrated. I think that Sauce needs to be on Travis Kelce the entire game because even though he's a tight end, he's more wide receiver.
He's a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with Tyreek Hill.
And I think that Sauce needs to do some making up, especially with that almost pick 6 in Dallas.
Yeah,
that was a horrible. Yeah, and also, I did point this out in the Dallas game. Before the Dallas game, I did point out that officiating was going to kill us in one way or the other. And of course, they flagged JFM for what they think is called a rough in the passer when it wasn't. And even the NFL reviewed it and they said that call shouldn't have been called. But hey, it seems like the league has it out for JFM because that happened to him the year before in New England and it happened again this year in Dallas. But that's neither here nor there. But I do feel that if by some weird way that we do win this game, everybody's going to be talking about how bad the Chiefs look or how they let this slide back, or they're going to do the Taylor Swift. I don't think that the respect is going to be there. But here's one thing that I do expect. If the Jets lose, it's going to be on Zach Wilson. If the Jets win, it's because the defense was able to hold their own. Zach Wilson is not getting any credit for this game whatsoever. That's all I'm going to say.
So what I got to say about that is I'm feeding into your hypothetical here, right? We just talking about Zach Wilson. That offensive line for the Jets didn't look necessarily good either.
Nope.
And they did look a little bit better against New England because maybe they shouldn't have put Mekhi Becton in right tackle. They should have kept him at left the entire time because they wanted Dwayne Brown to be left tackle, but we already know how injury prone he is.
Yeah, I definitely want to see a bounce back game. Regardless, win or loss, you just want to see production. You want to see drives. You don't want to see them 3 and out. If we see that Sunday, that's pretty good improvement a week prior to the performance that they just had. I'm going to wait and see how things go. It's still very early. We're only in week 4. A lot of people want to panic.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you got to let these guys play. This is the National Football League. Any team can beat any team at the end of the day.
True.
No, and you're absolutely right, because I mean, look what happened and look what happened in Arizona, or happened, because everybody was picking the Dallas Cowboys to outright hand.
It was a no-brainer.
It was a no-brainer, and it was a couple games. I mean, who picked the Colts to beat Baltimore?
Yes.
Or who picked the Jags to lose to Houston?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? This is
It's
the
so
NFL.
weird. It's so weird in the NFL.
It happens. It happens.
So why can't it? With that case,
So
why
why
not?
can't it happen in
Why
the
not?
Jets?
Why can't we not win?
Hence why I brought it up.
Yes.
That's why I brought it up. Listen, deep down inside, I feel the Jets have zero chance with Zach Wilson under center. But what if? That's something that the Jets would do.
It's possible. It's the NFL. It's
Mhm.
possible. We're just going off of recency bias with the way your quarterback's playing.
Yeah.
No, he has not shown
And this-
me anything that's like I can build off of.
But you know what? You know what, Ugo? He did have one very solid drive, like super solid drive.
Yeah.
He was like 8 out of 10, 100 yards. Yeah, Garrett Wilson did most of that.
That was a no-huddle offense, though.
Right. I think that's more his style. You asked earlier, what is Hackett doing?
What's his plan? I just
Still
want to know
trying to
that.
figure that out, because they were so hyper-focused on Rodgers that
This was
Wilson
Rodgers'
an
offense.
afterthought, right? Who would have thought 75 seconds into the season, Aaron Rodgers would go out? I mean, listen, I felt like I lost a distant uncle. For like the following 2 days, I was just melancholy, man. I was just like, my wife was like, "What's wrong, babe?" I'm like, and I just looked at her.
Aaron's
She's like,
gone.
is it because of Aaron Rodgers? I'm like, yeah, babe, it's because of Aaron Rodgers.
Yes. Oh my God, I was so despondent when that happened.
The air definitely popped out of the tri-state that night. I felt it everywhere.
Big facts.
I was
Big
in a
facts.
bar. The
Big
bar,
facts.
you could hear a freaking pin drop.
The only people that were excited were the people in Green Bay, because supposedly there was this bar that was going to give everybody free drinks if the Bills won.
I saw that.
Yeah, that was great. That was great.
Yeah,
But
that was on Twitter.
But there was people actually clapping when he went down. That was Tonka truck, as far as I'm concerned.
That was like some Eagles fans.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Perfect analogy.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that you and Des are going to agree on today. But anyway, but yeah, no, I totally agree with you. The air got sucked out of the room and everything. And it's funny because on that game, I was so despondent with what's going on, and I was still dealing from the depression of losing Aaron Rodgers for the season.
What if? That's something that the Jets...
I'm a Jets fan. I do predict these kind of things when it comes to the green and white. But before I turn off the game, Garrett Wilson, wrong Wilson here, Garrett Wilson made one of the most incredible catches I've ever seen in my life and put a spark into this team again. And just before I was about to hit that turn off button, thank you for Garrett Wilson for actually stopping me. And then afterwards, I got to see Gibson make that incredible run to the end zone. And it was a miraculous win. But it still felt it felt like a Pyrrhic victory, because it was a win at too great a cost.
Yeah.
I would have took the L and kept Aaron Rodgers. And I mean,
in a perfect world.
In a perfect world.
In a perfect world, but we need the Jets to lose just so we could keep our quarterback.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, but all right, that's enough of the Jets for now. Let's shoot over to the other team in town, or somebody would say the other way around. But we haven't done a lot of Giants talk here at Yo BTV Sports. But
tried to.
But it gets clouded with America's team. Come on, let's get out.
No, it does. But I mean, I feel like week one we've talked pretty heavily on that.
Yeah, we did have our doubts about Daniel Jones, but yeah, I definitely feel like we have certainly the greatest Giant fan that I know in my life here in the studio right now. So let's talk a little bit about the Giants. So
Big Blue.
Yeah. So you had that, but you definitely were feeling blue on week one with that 40-0 loss, and then afterwards you came back big with that amazing win in Arizona, and then we all knew that San Francisco was going to give a beat down to you guys. Let's be honest about that, especially with the injuries that you guys sustained. I'm a big fan. I'm not a fan of Daniel Jones per se. We had discussions about the quarterback situation, but the one key element that I think that makes me confident about you guys going forward, not just this season, but in the long run, is Brian Daboll. I love you guys.
Your coach,
I think you guys have the right head coach for the long run.
For sure. Your coach and GM, you guys have figured that out.
Yes.
And before I get to my soliloquy of my issues with you guys, coming into the season, how'd you guys feel? And coming into this upcoming week against, who you guys got this week?
Oh, this week coming up, we play
Monday night against the Seattle Seahawks,
at
right?
home.
Yeah. So coming into the season and the Seahawks upcoming, what are your thoughts about Big Blue?
So let's go back to summertime. I always go to training camp every year, ever since I moved to Jersey.
Nice.
That's been my thing.
Nice,
I always find time. I'll go by myself. I'll bring the family sometimes. I have other people that are Giants fans I go along with. So watching in training camp, the first thing I noticed was the connection with Jones and Waller. Mm-hmm. I'm amazed because the last time that we had a solid tight end of this caliber, most people think Shaggy, right? But as a Giant fan, is actually Martellus Bennett.
Yeah, he did.
Okay,
He's
I
one-
forgot
yeah,
about that.
And he was dope. And so seeing that, I'm like, okay, now I see the vision. This season, we don't necessarily need that wide receiver one. That's my thoughts. Okay. And the guys playing, so for example, Slayton, Hodgins, Paris Campbell coming over from Indianapolis, getting Wan'Dale Robinson back. And then we had a gem off the practice squad, Bryce Wheaton Ford. I'm thinking we might be some cool underdogs this season, right?
Yeah, especially when the whole focus was going to be on the New York Jets because of Aaron Rodgers being in town.
And as I just named all these so-called weapons, I didn't even mention Saquon's name.
No.
Therefore, that's supposed to be the cherry on top.
That's your Hiroshima ball.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So therefore, I was excited to start going into week 1. I did not expect the goose egg we laid. I'm thinking we're supposed to score 21 points now. We're supposed to keep up with the Cowboys. It might not be the first game, but show me something. And I feel like they just came out and they just got popped in the mouth and they didn't know how to recover.
Were you at that game?
No,
He was.
I was at that game in the rain.
I'm so glad
You didn't miss
I
much.
was home. I don't know what I would have did. I think I would have been standing in the stadium and just disgust and just in shock, to be honest, because that's not what we were supposed to do on my expectations. But you know what? At the same time, you got to understand that sometimes you got to get hit. And I've been down like this before as a Giant fan. I remember the years we went 0-2 to start the season and ended up in the Super Bowl. I have the confidence like it's just one game. I'll take the criticism because it'll be 1 week, 2-3 days of it. And then we move on to week 2.
Yeah.
And that's how you got to move it when you're in the NFL as well. You cannot dwell on the prior.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Here we go. Now we're in Arizona and Josh Dobbs is putting up numbers. He's literally put a hit stick on Xavier McKinney and I almost lost my mind.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I got people calling me. And people know if the Giants are on TV, they know not to call me. And they went through my do not disturb and calling me, trying to ask me like I know what the problem is, right? But I saw what the change was. Okay. And I don't know if you guys peeped it too. That second half, David was calling those plays. Had to be. I don't know what Kafka had going on. That's my OC that came from Kansas City.
Right.
I don't know what type of game he was calling that first half, but Dable had to take over, and that's how you saw that confidence that we see with Daniel Jones, him being able to be a game manager. And they had a great second half, right? So now we're 1-1. We're going into Thursday night against the Niners.
Short week.
Okay, short week. Okay. And without Saquon at that. Right? Because Saquon literally got hurt.
And Andrew Thomas.
Yes. Both gone. And still don't have an Aziz Ujulari, which I'm still waiting for him to play this year. He still had this hamstring issue that's been lingering his whole career. So
By the way, what's going on with Evan Neal?
Yeah.
I think that's a confidence problem right there.
It's got to be.
There's been some talks. He's going to continue to play for now on that right side. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him at guard. We got to switch things up. You got to allow.
It's not working. It's not working.
But he's athletic enough to move around. So, and there's some other issues on the line too that we need to address. There's some guys I don't think should never play a starting down again for the New York Giants. But that's my opinion. At the same time, they got to figure this out. And this also goes back to the coaching too. I have a problem with. Daniel Jones is going to take a lot of this criticism, but the offensive line and the offensive coaches are not getting the scrutiny they need to get. And it's going to get discovered at some point if they keep playing the way they've been playing. Getting back to that Thursday night, we were in that game for 3 quarters.
It was a 1-score game going to the 4th.
You know what I mean?
It was. I watched the second half.
And to a top defense at that, like holding up without all your weapons, I was pretty impressed. It was the 4th quarter that was a collapse. I was feeling like you guys could have held it together a little bit longer. Some things happened on the defensive side. When you leave your defense out too long, those things happen. So now going into Monday night, the odds are stacked against us because Daniel Jones is now like 1 for 12 in primetime games.
He's 1 for 11.
You 1 for 11.
He's 1 for
You're
11.
basically predicting the future right now.
I got another one for you.
7.
I got your boy Gino is 5-0 in MetLife.
He owns
Not in
MetLife. No, he owns just because they're playing in Jersey or at MetLife. I'm sorry, Dad, but Seahawks are gonna win because Gino's gonna light it up.
All I can think about at this point is this is what I want to see because I need consistency, and if I don't start seeing it Monday night, we got to make some changes. They're going to be uncomfortable, and somebody's going to have to be a fall guy. And I'm gonna predict this now, and if I'm back on this this show by the end
You
of the
will be.
season, I want to go back to this moment. We got to do a rewind.
And
All right?
I think I know who you're saying might be held accountable.
I did too.
I'm going here with it.
Yes.
I'm gonna give myself 2 options just in case.
Mhm.
All right. My first option: if the offensive line doesn't produce, Bobby Johnson is getting the boot. That's my offensive line coach.
Okay.
And the second guy is my offensive coordinator.
That was my
Mike
guess.
Kappa.
That was my guess.
No, actually,
That was my guess.
my guess was actually going to be Martindale because the defense allowing themselves to put this many points on you guys, 40 in week 1, and then afterwards, against the lowly Cardinals, supposedly as fast as they got off to a start, and the amount of beating, the amount of points that you guys were getting against the 49ers. The defense is like, they need to wake up.
I do understand Wank being the center of this problem. I also want to point out that we did have the acquisition of Isaiah Simmons come in
Yeah.
right before
nice.
that
And
Arizona.
you got a bunch of
that
rookies in
was a
that
good one.
secondary, if I'm not
Right?
mistaken.
And I'm loving the way they're playing.
Yeah, they're playing tough.
The
Playing
confidence that they have to go
Playing
up
hard.
against ones and bounce back, it's pretty good to see. I still have some of my issues in the secondary. This is a contract year coming up for Xavier McKinney, and so far, he still looks like he's recovering from that hand injury he had last season. The guy's trying to tackle, the guy's trying to punch the ball out, and it looks weak. I really do. I don't know. But like I said, he's coming up on a contract here. He's not playing like he's going to receive it. But I am satisfied with the pickup of Jason Pennock. Shout out to the Jets. I'm loving his athleticism. And then D-line wise, we haven't gotten enough pressures, and I think that's all because we haven't been 100% healthy. Like I mentioned before, Azeez Ujulari has not had a game yet this year. I think it would be the first game if he's active this Monday on the other side of Thibodeau. I want to see that too. And then we're trying to understand what our linebacker situation is going to be. Because, for example, we brought in Simmons because McFadden and the cat we got from Indianapolis, Bobby
Okereke. Yeah. I like him.
I know they're trying to figure that out, but McFadden had a very good game against San Francisco.
Yeah, he did.
So now we have to solidify who our 2 middle linebackers are going to be in this system, because we run like a 5-2 and then 3 safeties, and then you switch off between the corners and the slot corner. It's some time to figure out what's going to happen, but time is running out. And I also, you look at it, you got to find a way. The Giants have to find a way to go 4-4. Simply, that's the best way you're going to be able to evaluate the second half of the season to see, hey, is this a failure, or hey, we're working with something here. It just took us a while to get this chemistry going.
I got a question. We talked about this in previous episodes. I want to get your take since you're a Giant fan, lifelong Giant fan. Are you all in on Daniel Jones? Do you feel like he is the quarterback, your franchise guy that is going to lead you guys to, let's take Super Bowls out of this, because I don't think that's fair. In the real world, what do I always say? It's not mad. You don't win a Super Bowl every year.
It's not Kellen Moore.
No, exactly. Your hope is to be in the hunt every year as an NFL fan. Is my team good enough to get to the playoffs, make some noise, see what happens? That's everybody. The only 2 people that are allowed to say Super Bowl or bust, in my opinion, are the last 2 teams that played in the Super Bowl.
I agree with that.
So Super Bowl or bust for Kansas
Eagles
City.
and Kansas.
Or Kansas City, exactly. So my question to you is, can you sit here right now, do you feel like Daniel Jones is your franchise guy to lead you guys to being in contention for championships moving forward?
Daniel Jones has, this year included, 2 years to show me that you can take me to the promised land. So being in this first year of the contract he just signed, so far it's a rough start. But the way we set things up, and shout out to Joe Shane for this, after he finishes that second year, that $140 million contract he signed, if we want to cut him and get some money back, we're going to be able to do that.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's another point that I'm glad you're sitting here. My main issue with the way you guys do business, your owner still makes football decisions.
Correct.
And that is problematic 1,000%. Everybody gets on Dallas for the longest, and we'll get to them. Rightfully, Jerry Jones does not make football decisions anymore. Let me just, once again, for the billionth time, debunk that rumor. Stephen Jones and Will McClay are the co-GMs of this team. Jerry takes all the credit because he's a narcissist. But he does not, but he does not make football decisions. He used to. The result, 5-11, 3 straight years, laughing stock. Bill Parcells had to rescue us from becoming the Jets or the Browns. This is Bill Parcells' work. But fast forward to you guys. Mara has been making football decisions. He's the reason why Gettleman was there way past his prime. He's the reason why you guys hired Shermer. That was a miracle. He's the reason why you guys hired McAdoo. That was a miracle. He's the reason why you guys hired Judge. A miracle. You see the running theme here. The one time he's, okay, let me hire a GM and make a decision with the GM to get the guy in, Dable. And look at what you guys have been able to put together in this 2-year vacuum and whatnot. I feel like Mara wants Daniel Jones there, and Dable has your attitude of, you know what? Okay, this is the car. I'm going to be a professional. I'm going to do everything I can to scheme and put this guy in a position to succeed. If it's going to get to that point where Dable's going to be like, I don't want to be fired like the other guys previously before me. Let me bring my guy, because he didn't pick Daniel Jones. He's not his guy. Okay. He's not married to him.
Got you.
So I feel like as long as your owner continues to make football decisions, that's going to be at the detriment of you guys. That's my opinion.
So let me go back to the head coach making decisions here, right? The one accountability that Brian Dable has to be honest about is when he came on, he brought a couple of his friends with him.
Yes, he did.
Okay?
Yes, he did.
So therefore, I do want to point out that as much scrutiny as Daniel Jones received, because he's the quarterback, it comes with the job,
comes
right?
with the job, comes with the dinner. Mm-hmm.
He's also Dable has to get to a point where he realizes, you know what? The way I'm developing this so-called wall in front of Daniel Jones, I failed him too.
So-called. I love that.
Because if I literally can go from where the offensive line was last year to who was supposed to be on it this year, and the difference it was supposed to be, so far there hasn't been a difference. And you were paying those guys last year less than the guys you're paying this year, and it's almost the same result. What does that mean? That means the development is not where it needs to be.
Agreed.
Because at least if you give me that, and now if Jones is going out there making boneheaded plays, throwing those interceptions like he was, panicking, that's where I'm like, okay, I see what the problem is. But that's why, at least Giant fans and Giants Nation, a lot of us have not given up on Daniel Jones yet, because we also realize, okay, run the ball. You pass up to Saquon, he has no hole to run. He still has to do his 1-2 step, bounce outside just to get open. It's not necessarily he's able to hit these holes and actually be productive like we saw. And the other thing too, the identity of this team this year is not the same to the identity that they had late in the season last year.
No.
When you're beating Green Bay in London, when you're beating Minnesota. Let's go to the loss you had in Minnesota during the regular season, and you let that fuel you to beat them in the postseason, right? That type of identity of a locker room. That's not what's going on right now. And most of those guys are the same guys, but it's a different attitude. We got to figure this out. It's still early on. It's not too late. Couple games we got coming up, very winnable games coming up. But also, if I look at our schedule overall, I got to find out who did it, because it wasn't really favored for us this year. It was tough.
You guys made the playoffs last year. So that's a big reason why. You guys,
that is true.
Yeah, it's the strength of schedule and the way the schedulers schedule for people that make the playoffs, win playoff games, get further. It's designed to be harder off the rip. So that's why you guys don't get the AFC South this year. You see what I'm saying? Like we had mentioned before in previous shows.
That's true. So that's what I'm looking forward to with this season coming up. Like I said, I'm hoping later on I have a different attitude. We see a different approach that the team is taking, but right now they got to grow some cojones. Get right and get tight, because it's not tight right now. It's loose.
Right now,
Don't get me started.
Right now you got blue balls. That's all you got right now.
For real.
Savage.
All right, but you know what? I will say that it was an impressive win in Week 2 against Arizona, which I'm wondering what the hell happened to the Dallas Cowboys
That's a great
with
segue.
Arizona.
I see what you did there. I like what you did there.
Yeah. Why is this first class, second place material?
It's a first class podcast right here, for sure.
Yahtzee.
I'll give my take and then I'll pass to you guys. So I was able to catch most of the game. Again, I was at Wizards camp, but I was able to catch pretty much from the second quarter on. The issue I saw, let's just take each side of the football. There's so much to unpack here. First of all, from an offensive standpoint, they really missed the 3 starters at offensive line. You take the starting center, the starting right guard, the starting left tackle, you take that off of anybody, you're going to have some issues up front. You're going to have some issues running the ball. You're going to have some issues protecting the quarterback. We gave up a bunch of pressures. We ran the ball okay, but I feel like the loss of those 3 offensive linemen reared its ugly head at the most inopportune time, and that was in the red zone. We've had red zone issues going back to playing you guys. Now, honestly, it didn't really surface that much because again, we got a special teams touchdown and a defensive touchdown, and of course the weather as well. The first one is a bit of a wash, no pun intended. The second game with the Jets, we understood we needed to score X amount of points because Zach Wilson wasn't moving the ball against our defense. But still, a lot of trips to the red zone, a lot of field goals. It came home to roost in this Arizona game because now we get further into the year, and now teams have at least enough tape on you. I say by week 4, you kind of in an early manner, you declare who you are 4 weeks in. That's a month. That's a full quarter of the season.
Yeah.
So 4 weeks in, this upcoming game is important because what I've seen thus far is in the red zone, we're not running the ball effectively. We're scheming. We're not scheming enough. There's not enough versatility in terms of the personnel. Mind you, we've got Tony Pollard, we've got 2 tight ends competently, and we've got 3 wide receivers. Granted, we didn't have Cooks against you guys, but Cooks played last week. Gallup played last week, and CeeDee Lamb played last week, and both tight ends played last week, and Pollard played last week.
Pulled down last
Exactly. From a personnel standpoint, you're not going to tell me they don't have anybody to throw the ball to down there. No, I'm not trying to hear that. They were missing the play calling, and even McCarthy agreed to this. The play calling was not good enough in this particular matchup, and I think it was compromised mainly from the offensive line, but the play calling needs to be better. Over to the defense, it was a horror show. It was a horror show. I didn't even recognize it. That defense looked like the Mike Nolan defense in 2020. It was bad. We were getting gashed. We made Connor freaking. It was the running back for the Cardinals.
James Conner.
We serviced that much because again, we got a special team all stop back there, and we made Josh Dobbs like you guys in the first half. We had Josh Dobbs looking like Joe Montana. You know what I mean? Josh Dobbs outplayed Dak Prescott. You see what I'm saying? I'll save the quarterback for last. I'll save him for last, and that's on purpose. But defensively, horror show. Just guys running out of gap integrity was abysmal. The tackling was terrible. On 8-man boxes, Arizona averaged like 9 yards a carry. Yeah.
They had over 200 yards on the ground that day.
Jesus Christ. With an 8-man box, if you get 9 a clip, you're basically saying, listen, we're here to stop you. But the other team was like, okay, we know you're here to stop us. We're going to run it anyway, and we're going to run it down your throats, and you guys are going to take it. That happened from kickoff to the 4th quarter when we needed stops. So defensively, I'm not going to give any excuse. I'm not even going to give the Trey Diggs because Trey Diggs doesn't play run defense. All right? You know what I mean? And passing wise in the secondary, there were issues as well. I understand that's going to be an issue with Bland, who's taking Trey Diggs' spot or whatnot. But my issues were up front with the line of scrimmage. Like Arizona they completely punked Dallas from start to finish. So defensively, they took a step back, in my opinion. Now back to the quarterback, last but not least. See, coming into the season, Jason knows exactly how I feel about Kellen Moore, all right? If your offense is good in the regular season and not good in the playoffs, you're not a good offensive coordinator. You're not. You're not. I stood on that. Michael Lombardi agreed with me on that. And situationally, he's one of the worst situational play callers in the league. How the Chargers doing in tight games? Didn't they lose in overtime to the Titans, if I'm not mistaken, at home? You see what I'm saying? So now we're going to get this full season because I'm going to reserve judgment until further in the year because I got to see at least to the halfway point. Dak has looked really efficient at times, but again, going back to the red zone, going back to critical situations and third downs, he has not looked what he needs to look with Mike McCarthy. And I get it. They're still figuring things out, but you can't tell me the personnel is the issue. All right. Because it was the issue last year. Your number 2 receiver was Noah Brown last year. All right. Michael Gallup was coming off of injury. He was a shell of himself. It was basically CeeDee Lamb and Pollard or bust. And as soon as Pollard got hurt in the playoff game, it was over. Like I had zero faith we were going to win that game when Pollard limped off, whatever, and they didn't. So, but now, if that's not the issue, that's not the issue. You've got Gallup, Cooks, CD's taking the next step. He's a top 5 receiver now. You've got the running backs in place, minus Zeke, but Pollard's still playing at a high level. Dak has to show me. I'm in the same boat as you with that, and I love him. I am a Dak fan through and through. But
you think he's the guy?
I do believe he's the guy. I believe he's the guy. I believe that this season there are 3 games I've got circled, and one of them's coming up. I want to see how he plays against San Francisco with Mike McCarthy calling plays versus Kellen Moore. And I want to see how he plays against Philly. Now, granted, he's beaten Philly consistently. Philly's not really been his problem in his career. He's 8-3 against them. He put 40 on them last year and beat them. And I mean, at Jerry World on Christmas Eve. So, but I'm circling those 3 games. How do you play against this version of Philly defense? And how do you play against San Francisco in San Francisco this year? If he struggles, or he looks lost, or he looks out of sync, or he looks like the moment's too big for him, or he's making boneheaded throws and the turnover bug comes back or whatnot, I'm gonna have to put him in with the Kirk Cousins comparisons more, because you're in the NFC now. It's Dallas, San Francisco, Philly, and you got to put Detroit in that conversation now too, unequivocally. If you have to.
After that game last night,
absolutely.
And they have Jameson coming.
And I called this during the regular season. I was like, Detroit's going to declare themselves because they've been building that for a couple years now. They bought it with Dan Campbell. Jared Goff is playing the best football of his career right now. You see what I'm saying? So my thing is, I want to see how Dak plays against those 3 games. I got those 3 games circled, and we're going to be here talking about all those games. Those 3 games circled. How? Because toward the end of that Arizona game, there were too many times where he looked unsure. He was afraid. He missed a couple easy reads, and the game sped up for him. And again, McCarthy didn't do a good job of setting him up. And even when he did set him up, the connection was off or whatnot. I'm going to reserve comment until I see how he plays in those 3 games. And when I see his performance and when I see the team's performance, if they don't go a minimum of 2-1, I'm not saying sweep Philly and win all 3. That's not realistic. If they don't win a minimum of 2 of those 3 games, no Super Bowl. It'll be 29 years in running, because those are the teams that are going to play in the playoffs. You see what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at with it. But it was a very disappointing performance. They have to own it up. I'd rather they have it now than in January and December when the games are really, and God forbid, in a playoff game. So I'd rather they get it. But this upcoming week, we'll see if they can bounce back. But Arizona, that was unacceptable how they played. They were awful.
So I got a question for you.
Yep.
So let's flip to the other side of the ball real quick, because
defense. Okay.
Offense wins games, defense wins championships, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as we know, you have a stellar edge rusher in Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
Still mad to this day he's not a Jet. He could have, no doubt in my mind, he could have been the next Lawrence Taylor of some type of degree.
Agreed.
No,
But anyway,
he already is. He's just not playing for the Giants.
That's what I'm saying. He's wearing a star, so we're going to keep it there. His best friend in Trayvon Diggs is out for the season.
Mm-hmm.
And as we know, he's a leader of the defense.
Yes.
But we also know he has been doing his thing when it comes to the podcast world.
Yeah.
And he's been trying to get comfortable with this stardom that he has now.
Yeah.
Do you think that is it become much? Is he too focused on the outside of football and commentary and having a lot to say? Do you think that it's causing an effect on him being able to lead this defense and stay consistent? Because he's doing what he needs to do for himself.
Yeah.
But he's come into that role now. He's got to motivate everybody else to step up.
True.
What do you think of Micah and what he's doing lately? Is he getting a big head? Is he right where he needs to be? What do you think of that?
I can't answer that question yet, because I've only seen 1 game where we laid an egg. If this becomes if this happens more than once, or this becomes if we get into a funk of 2 or 3 games, or even games where we win, but I see the defense struggling, I see Micah like nothing on the stat sheet, pressures are down, he's not doing his lion dance after sacks. I don't see that effect that he had in the first 2 weeks or whatnot. I'm going to agree with you. I am. Right. Because, again, the NFL is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And at the same time, you have to be playing your best football going into the tournament. You can't pretty much shoot your load in the first 2 months of the season and throw out crazy numbers, but then in the last month of the season, you have half a sack. Because he did fall off last year, but he was playing hurt last year.
That's right,
He even admitted it. He said this year he's put on extra muscle. He's done the training and nutrition and the wear and tear to compensate for that and be better later in the year. I'm going to hold him to the same standard I'm going to hold my quarterback, because he's the best player on our defense. He's on the team, really. Yeah, he's a foundational piece, and he's about to get a baseball contract when his deal is up. Because whatever Bosa got, just add a 0 to it. That's Micah's contract. You know what I mean? I got to see how he shows up, just like Dak, in the 3 biggest games of the year. Really 4, because you could add Detroit to that mix. That wasn't on the bingo card coming into the season. I knew they'd be good, but would they be our litmus test going into the playoffs? I didn't have that, but that's the case now. And we're gonna play all of those teams. I keep going. So my answer to that is tied into my quarterback. I gotta see if Micah, and knowing the Micah that I've known since Penn State, he's a dog. He always showed up, even against Michigan, even against Ohio State. Micah had splash plays every time we played one of those big dogs or whatnot. He's not the reason why we didn't win national championship. We had Will Levis and who else? Sean Clifford at quarterback. You know, what I mean, that's why Penn State didn't win anything or whatnot. I gotta see that. I gotta see Micah show, especially with Trayvon out now, because he knows that he's got to even take it another level that he wasn't even expecting. I got to see him against the biggest games, those 4 games really, against Philly twice, San Francisco, Detroit. We're going to talk about it too, about his stat line. And if he showed up and did he make an impact play late in the game when it was tight or early on, you know what I mean? I got to see him show up in those big games, and then I'll have an answer ready for you. Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. Before we shift over to the other sport in town, I want to get a little bit of a predictions first for week 4 now. Since we have Carlos here as a fellow Jet guest here, I want to get your prediction for the Jets Chiefs this Sunday night.
Jets with the major upset.
Whoa.
Major
He is a homer and a half. I love it. I love it.
Major upset. It's going to be a low-scoring game, defensive battle. I feel that Mahomes is going to have one of his worst professional games ever, right?
Saying it with his chest.
Yeah, I could see that happening. I just have this weird feeling, this weird hunch that the Jets are just
You sure
going
it's
to
not?
win this
Sure, it's
game.
not just gas or acid in the
It might be a
session?
little bit of both. I had some White Castle earlier, but man, I just have this weird feeling that it's gonna happen, and it'll be. I've said jokingly before, 21-20. I could see that totally happening. I could see the defense scoring 2 touchdowns. I could see a fumble recovery
This is
happening.
amazing.
Right? I could see a safety. I just seen a sloppy game from Kansas City. And Jets winning. Dez is over here looking at me like
The
I'm
face,
freaking
the
crazy.
face and this. I wish we had video for this episode.
It was the sloppy part for me.
Yeah,
Exactly. Sloppy.
Yo,
Listen, you know what? I think there's gonna be too much BS going on about this whole Travis Kelce and what's her name?
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I'm tired of that.
Yeah, I'm tired of that
So
too.
just because of that, I think Taylor Swift is a mush. That's why I'm taking the Jets.
Oh.
Feed off that energy.
Savage.
Feed off that. I can say for this Monday night game we have coming up, I can't give you a correct score because I don't even know if we can score, but I'll say this. I'll say this. We've got Andrew Thomas coming back. If Saquon decides to play, I wouldn't mind if he sat, but if he decides to play, anybody putting in a bet, do this for me. Do double result. Seahawks first half, New York Giants second half. Let me know how it goes. That's my prediction
Okay.
for Monday night.
If you had to give a score,
He gonna
give a
get it.
score, yeah, because that's what we do on here.
Yeah.
6-23 New York Giants.
Okay. All right. Now, hey, you know what? It's all about, and it goes to this true rate of any given Sunday. Shout out to Willie Beeman, which you can stream now. Our whole vibe, Willie Beeman at Ugo Point.
Available on all platforms.
Willie
baby.
Beeman.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
you see what
yes,
I did
sir.
there?
Yes, sir. I like the
Yeah.
segue god today.
Savage. But anyway, yeah. You going up against the abysmal New England Patriots. My bad.
Yeah.
Yes. I was about to say New York Jets, but no, you guys already proved that.
Freudian slip. It's okay.
Yeah. Yahtzee. But anyway, yeah. America's game of the week for supposedly the 2 America's teams facing off this Sunday. Patriots at Dallas. Prediction.
Who? It's Belichick. Belichick is like, so I went back and watched the highlights when we played 2 years ago at Foxborough, and we're not going to see any of that. Belichick is not going to give Dak those type of coverages. Dak threw for almost 500 yards in that game. He lit up, and that was in New England. That was in
Like Brady
Foxborough.
in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he lit them up in Foxborough. I think he's going to try to take that away. I think the offense will be better. I think that this is going to be our best game offensively. I really believe that.
Really?
I really believe that. I haven't said points though.
Yeah.
I want to say offensively in the sense of we're going to be able to move the ball, which hasn't been a problem really all year. We've been able to move the ball in these first 3 games. The red zone, because we've talked about so much, because they've heard about so much, and because McCarthy is a seasoned coach, and I'm just looking at our track record after losses. We haven't had I don't think we've had a 2 or 3. We haven't had 3. Definitely haven't had a 3-game losing streak under McCarthy. You know what I mean? Even with that abysmal outside of the 2020 season. So the last 2 years, we've had done a great job of bouncing back from tough losses. I want to say we're going to win this one. It'll be tight. It's definitely not going to be my multiple scores. I see us winning 27-24. Hanging on. Yeah. And Zeke's going to score and do a crazy jump in the kettle or something. Some type of, because every time we play a former Cowboy, they score. It's ridiculous.
You know what though? One matchup that I'm looking forward to is CD Lamb against Christian Gonzalez.
That's going
to be a hell of a
so
matchup.
So what we should have had with Sauce versus CD traveling, That's what I was looking for that. I wanted to see
You
that.
want to be
That needs
Terrell
to happen.
Davis, you got to travel.
Right.
Okay?
And
You
I
want to be
was-
Sauce Island, you got to travel.
I was so disappointed in Salah for being pig-headed and not allowing that. He basically he just, you got your size. Okay, I'll just go over to Reader's side and have 11 catches for 143 yards. Thank you very much. So I don't think Belichick is that pig-headed. He's going to be like,
He needs to.
Gonzalez, you're with CD all game.
Man.
Yeah, I mean, but that's going to be box office because Gonzalez, he's still a rookie, but he's been playing out of his
Nice.
mind. CD has cemented himself as a top 5 wide receiver right now. Like he's playing he's playing the best ball of his career.
Yeah, his
He really is.
footwork, he's worked on his route running.
Everything. And the route running was, I think that was the last hurdle for me because he didn't really need that much route running. He was just always open at Oklahoma. But NFL's different. You got to run routes. You got to create separation.
Yep.
You got to be consistent at catching the ball. He's ascended. He's in the Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams conversation. He is.
Okay,
Look at the
he's towards
numbers.
the bottom of the
Look at the
list, but
numbers.
he's there. Okay, I'll give you that. For
Over
sure.
100 catches last year. I was just saying.
Is it just me or does CD Lamb look like the doppelganger to Young Thug? Yeah, but anyway, should I get my prediction or we should stick with Carlos since he's the guest here?
No, guys,
I'm not as positive as you, Carlos. I'm not as confident as you. I think it'd actually be a little bit closer than people think. I know that Rich Samini actually had this game at 33-6, the Chiefs. But you know what? I'm starting to see a pattern here. And me being a Jets fan, I'm not allowed to believe in coincidences per se. In the Dallas game, they only scored 10 points. In the New England game, they only scored 10 points. They said,
history is life's best team.
I think that these kind of things come in threes. So I'm gonna say 23-10.
Wow.
The Chiefs. Yeah.
Listen, I could just see special team scoring and defense scoring, and
Oh yeah. I didn't say the offense was gonna score.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, if you remember, I would have actually been right with the prediction because I actually predicted the Patriots win 13-10, and it actually ended up being 15-10 because of that safety.
True.
If it wasn't for that safety, I would have been dead on with my prediction.
True. I got 27-10 Chiefs. I think that that 27 is not going to come easily. Like your defense, you can hang your hat on that. Your defense shows up every week. They do. But again, they're going to get worn out. They're going to get worn
out. Pick
out.
6, unfortunately.
They're going to get worn out because you guys can't put together drives because this guy's not ready to play in the NFL yet. And they're going to give up some points later on.
Yeah, send them over to Canada. Send them to the Canadian football.
So Jason's predicting a pick 6. I'm predicting Chris Jones to get his hands on Zach Wilson.
Oh, yeah.
And take it back to the house. That's what I'm predicting for Sunday.
I pray you're wrong, brother.
I pray you're wrong, but you know what? I'm gonna be putting my money on it because if I'm gonna drown in my sorrows, if I'm gonna drown in my sorrows, I want to do it with a fat wallet. Okay, you know what I'm trying to say?
I'm predicting a Kelsey touchdown and he does a Taylor Swift dance.
Not just that. Not just that, but I immediately see the camera panning over to Swiftie and also cheering her on and everything.
Yeah, they're gonna shake it off on you guys.
What's the over under on seeing Taylor Swift on TV? What's the over?
Oh God!
Come on. Come on, man.
Come on.
There can't be no bad blood. Come on, man.
So I couldn't resist. I was sitting on that one.
You don't see what I just did there either, did you? But that's.
Oh no, I'm not that big of a fan.
Well, I just know about it because Kendrick was on it. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only reason. Yeah.
Right.
So
no, we play Shake It Off at every Harlem Wizard game.
Okay.
So it's burned in my mind.
My street credit's still intact. No worries.
Okay.
All right. So so far for the New York teams in football has been a disappointment. But speaking of disappointment, I don't think anything in New York has even been more disappointing. I thought it was hilarious how when the New York Mets were officially eliminated from the postseason, this man to my right here said, "Just wait for the Yankees," and lo and behold, the following day, they were eliminated from the postseason. Yep. And now I'm also wondering to see what's going to happen with the Yankees because earlier in the season, before the All-Star break, Hal Steinbrenner won on the Michael Kay show on ESPN 98.7 FM and said that if we finish under 500 and we don't make the playoffs, there's going to be a lot of tough questions I got to ask. So they're going to finish above 500, but they didn't make the playoffs, especially since they went to the ALCS last year. They got swept by Houston Astros. We already know that story. We already know that Boone is just a puppet at this point for Brian Cashman.
Yep.
Everybody wants to point at Boone. And yes, listen, I'm not a Boone fan, but at the end of the day, if they get rid of Boone, Cashman is just going to bring in an Aaron Boone 2.0. So it doesn't matter. To me, you could put Carlos or Dez as manager at this point. The main culprit here to me is Brian Cashman. Unless he's gone, then I don't see any hope for the New York Yankees anytime soon.
We're in lockstep before we get to you guys' points. We're in lockstep. Cashman's not going anywhere.
Unfortunately, no.
Cashman,
they extended neither of them going anywhere because they actually extended Boone and Cashman last year.
Well, Boone's the only one that they're going to have a conversation on because the reality is now setting in. It's just one thing to talk to him and discuss it. Now the reality is setting in. You're not going to the playoffs in a field Mind you, it has never been easier to make the playoffs in pro baseball with the extra wild card. You know what I mean? And the fact that you still got monster years with injury from Aaron Judge, you got a Cy Young season from Garrett Cole, and you mean to tell me 15-4, you couldn't win 90 games with the two of them giving you that type of production? But I tell you why. Because they fell into the trap of believing that the analytics guys, they know how to run the team.
Yeah.
So we're not going to go get stars. We're going to get 5 players that equal 1 star. And we're just going to run it back with Stanton, and we're just going to run it back with Josh Donaldson. We're just going to run it back with the same roster with LeMahieu and with Rizzo. We're just going to run it back. We're just going to run it back, and we're going to sign Rodon. All we're missing is a number 2 starter. We get Rodon, who started the season hurt, by the way, and didn't play for the first, 50 games.
Didn't he come into the organization in a walking boot?
He literally did. He finished under 500 with an ERA over 4. That's what you got for $160 million there. You know what I mean?
Not a Boone fan, but at the end of the day,
don't have a center fielder. Bader, who you put all your chips in, you DFA'd him.
Yeah.
You put him on waivers.
And let's not forget about Josh Donaldson.
And don't even get me started on my 2 biggest culprits for why the Yankees missed the playoffs. Josh Donaldson and Aaron Hicks. You didn't drop the dead weight in the offseason. You didn't do it. You ran it back because you felt like you still had an MVP Josh Donaldson from 50 years ago and Aaron Hicks, who all he does is strike out. He's with the Orioles. He just got off the IL with the Orioles. He just got off the IL with them. So they fumbled the bag going into the season. They were set up for this. Me and my boy Mongo on Sports Talk.
Shout out to Mongo.
Shout out to Mongo. Love you, dog. Jets fan as well. We talked about this when the season started. This isn't going to end well because they didn't make the necessary moves to become a contender, and they're going to have to eat this. They deserve to miss the playoffs. I'm glad they missed the playoffs. You can't convince me coming into this season that they were good enough to compete with the big boys. And
it's hard for me to feel bad for the Yankees because of the arrogance that they have with the front office, with the analytics and everything. They're basically acting like Billy Beane with Elon Musk fortune.
Yep.
That's what they're acting with right now.
Yep.
I like that.
Yep. So you two, why do you guys feel was the biggest reason, before we even get to the Mets, why do you feel was the biggest reason why the Yankees missed the playoffs?
I'm going to go strictly with the injury bug. Yanks had a real weird season when it comes to who was available and who wasn't, starting with the captain. Aaron Jones being out. Aaron Judge. Aaron Jones.
Wrong Jones.
Judge being out with that turf toe type of injury, rehab, and being out. It was big. You're missing out on the big bats. Stan was still inconsistent. Overall, I was happy for certain guys. I thought Torres was going to step up a little bit.
And I like what we saw from King.
I had some faith, but at the same time, I'm not a Aaron Boone fan, first of all. So
I hate neither.
But I laid off of the hurt I have and what's bothering me as a Yankees fan, because once Aaron Judge came to Boone's defense, I said, there's nothing we can do at this point. The captain has spoken. He's given this same power when Jeter was here. Same thing. Nobody questions the captain.
No.
And going into next season, because it's all we can look forward to, only thing I can think of, I don't think they're necessarily going to bring in guys. I think they're going to go back to their farm. They really believe their farm is going to be the reason why they can have a bounce back year. They've got some prospects that can make a difference. I don't necessarily agree with that. But like I said, what it is going to come down to, it's about time the front office makes a change, and we may have to go through another season of turmoil for it to happen.
This feels very 2016 for me when they lost the playoffs, but the future looked bright because they had the baby bombers with Gary Sanchez and Gleyber Torres and Ronald Torres and Greg Bird and all these other hitters at the time.
Greg Bird, that's a name.
What about Ronald Torres?
Good question.
Yeah, but that's what it feels like, because as soon as we knew that they had no shot of getting to the playoffs, I don't care what they say. They could try to put lipstick on a pig as much as they want to. They were not making the playoffs. We know this. That finally you bring out the Martian. He actually hit a spark for us for a little bit until he got injured. And then King looks like he's actually going to be a legit starter. We still got Garrett Cole. We still got Aaron Judge. We still.
Come on, you need to stop. I'm gonna stop you right there. Washed.
Yeah.
Like separate the colors from the whites.
Yeah.
Washed.
This ain't Clorox 2, bro.
Yeah. Arm and Hammer.
Yeah, no, but it just feels, again, I don't want to compare the Yankees to the Jets, but I'm going to use the same analogy where I feel like I've seen this movie before. And I don't have any big expectations. And yeah, as far as I'm concerned, next season it's going to be between the Orioles and the Rays as far as the division goes.
Hey, to sit back and watch my team go to shits. Basically, I'm loving this Orioles team. I really believe.
I'm happy for him. No, I'm happy for him.
So.
I'm happy.
I caught a game this year. I was
down at Camden Yards.
Yeah, and they're playing the Reds. And man, that was a great game. That went into, I think, that maybe the 10th or 11th. It might actually have been the 12th inning. Actually, seeing both of those teams and seeing what the Orioles have, what on the payroll that they have, I was impressed. So I'm really hoping the Orioles can make a run outside of just watching these New York teams go down the drain.
They're just taking the same model. Same with the Braves, who are the prohibitive favorite. Mm-hmm. They're taking the model we talked about on past episodes that the Yankees used to do. Let's build up our farm system. Yeah. Let's develop them. Let's get them some at-bats toward the end of the season. And then let's welcome to the show. There are guys. And then to supplement that, because your work's not done yet, that's just half the assignment. The other half, which you take home and work with your partners on, you go out and get quality free agents through signing them or trading for them. We stopped doing that. And the second we stopped doing that and switched over to the analytics bullshit, that's why we're at home right now. Yeah. We're home for the holidays.
Speaking of the Braves, how about Ronald Acuna going 47?
The National League MVP.
Yeah. I hate that he's on the Braves, by the way.
He would look good in pinstripes.
He would. Pinstripes. Not the pinstripes.
Oh, God. Brothers plays for you guys. Yeah, so we'll see.
Who knows? Maybe you might get Ohtani. I don't know. Hey, it's looking possible.
Oh, my God. Why would he go there? You want him to go to the Mets?
No, I don't. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
Why would you speak that?
The money is possible.
Yeah. Your owner
because money talks. Yeah. Money talks.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Now, let me ask you this before we put a cap on this episode. All three of you, and I'll include myself in this as well. When it comes to New York baseball, the New York Yankees and the New York Mets, which team did you say had the biggest disappointment this season? I'm going to start with you, Carlos. Who had more disappointing season, the Mets or the Yankees?
I don't think anyone had a bigger disappointing season than the New York Mets. Diaz gets hurt celebrating at the World Baseball. When that happened,
very Jet.
Listen, the Mets and Jet can't have nice things. Let me tell you,
it was Aaron Rodgers and Jays.
Yes, it really was. God. And when that happened, I remember I have a little group text with a few of my Met fans, some of my boys. We were like, the season's already over, and it hadn't even started. So when that happened, I knew that we were going, I didn't think it was going to be this bad, right? But I knew it was going to be bad. So I was like, should we even watch baseball this year? I had hopes of, listen, for me, on paper, I'm like, all right, World Series. We have a chance to go to the World Series. They're the Mets, so they probably would have collapsed, but the guy gets injured celebrating a freaking win for his home country.
Marv, that happened. God.
Yeah, you can't tell me that Mets didn't have the worst or the most disappointing season.
I will say this, though. Even though I'm not a Met fan, I am a Yankee fan. I don't necessarily hate the Mets. It's just Met fans that I hate certain ones. But
Right.
here's what I would say. I would say that one of the things that I would have loved to have seen the Mets win a World Series is possibly is so that Buck Showalter could finally be a world champion.
Yes.
I would have loved to have seen that.
You're better than me. I hate the Mets. I'm loving every second. I'm joking. Pete Alonso is one of my favorite players.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
Polar Bear, yeah.
I feel for Polar Bear. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even though he's a little bit of a nozzle, but player.
He's a great player.
Yeah, he has to be.
When you're that good, you can be.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I'm gonna do my best not to
implode.
To lose too much here, right?
No, get spicy, man. Get spicy here. That's what we do here at BTV Sports.
Let me tell you this. When I go home, I still got to go home to my wife, who is her and her family are Mets fans, and they got they got some dirt on me, man. Let me tell you what the dirt is. Every year for Father's Day, we go to the Mets game. I'm never in Mets gear or anything like that. But it's too many pictures of me in the stadium to be up here talking shit.
That's
so I'm
rough.
not gonna tell myself.
That's because City Field is nicer than Yankee Stadium.
Rough.
I enjoy it when I go
like
there.
City Field.
I do City Field. I'm not gonna be a hater.
Don't
right?
be that Yankee fan.
No, I was at the
that just comes out of the
So
are we doing another side talk episode?
So all I'll say to put a cap on it, I'm gonna go with the Yankees being more disappointing, only because I still have a bad taste in my mouth from not only just this past season, but the season before of how hot we started. And how we had the highest expectation.
Facts.
I was looking to see who we were going to see in the World Series.
Facts.
And the way the last part of the season ended, I still have a bad taste in my mouth.
Facts.
So even going into this season, when the injury started, when the miscommunication started, when all the fuckery started, still not okay.
Bing bang.
So that's where we're at. That's the state of the New York Yankees right now.
Bing bong. Shout out to the Knicks.
This is a side talk episode. Let me get this. See, I would say the Mets, but the way you guys basically pulled the ripcord, hit the eject button, and got hella prospects, you're going to have to eat some bad contracts, unfortunately.
Yep.
But you guys got out of it by getting a whole bunch of prospects.
Yeah.
Your future looks way more promising than ours.
Yes.
So that's why I'm not going to say you guys.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's the Yankees because I don't know what the plan is for next year. Actually,
Right.
let me scratch that. I do know what the plan is because right now,
No, I don't know what the plan is.
The
right,
worst kind of plans I have is hope.
exactly. Because right now it's looking like you're now coming. You're starting first baseman Anthony Rizzo concussed. You're starting DH Giancarlo Stanton. They're gonna run back and DJ LeMahieu 200 plus strikeouts and all. Come on down. Like it's so our outlook looks more dreary than you guys. I see us having almost the identical same record next year. Honestly, right now, unless we do what I have said from the jump for months now, unless they go out and trade for Soto, which they won't.
Let's go Mets.
Unless they sign Ohtani, which they won't.
They won't.
Unless they do one of those two things, which they won't, they're going to have somewhere around 75 to 85 wins again. And that's going to get you just missing the playoffs, or that's going to somehow get you the third wild card where you're going to get blown out by the Orioles or the Astros. You see what I'm saying? That's what's going to happen next year. So I applaud you guys for understanding, okay, we're putting all the money, all the chips in on Verlander and Scherzer and Diaz, and we got Polar Bear and Lindor. They're going to hit this year. And once you guys realized that the fuckery was immense, y'all were just like, damn.
You did adjust.
You
Yeah,
adjusted.
fire sale.
Fire
I'll take it.
sale.
Yep.
What did we do? And granted, Cashman was in a rock and a hard place because he signed off on these contracts.
Right.
So it's his fault, but it's not his fault, but it is his fault. Because you signed off on LeMahieu long term. You signed off on Rizzo, doubling down. You signed off on taking the contract from the Marlins for Giancarlo. You signed off on this, bro. No one's trading for that. They have to figure out what they're gonna do with Giancarlo. They have to basically, like my boy Chop, shout out to Chop Sports from Chop's Media. He says that they should DFA Stanton, which is not gonna happen. Just too much.
Way too much.
The only way that's going to happen if the Yankees agree to eat most of that money, they're not going to do.
I would trade him back to the Marlins, agree to take on like 75 to 80% of the contract, because that's gonna be the stipulation, and then try to get a handful of prospects or something. But again, if I am very interested to see, because it's the Yankees, it's like unbelievable. Like baseball, like no gripes to you guys, but the spotlight's on us. What are we going to do in the offseason? How are the Yankees going to bounce back? Aaron Judge even said himself, we got to fix some things.
Right.
We need some changes in
Will
the offseason.
Boone be there?
Will Boone be there? And what are you going to do in this lineup to give him help? Because right now he has no protection. He has no protection. Teams can still walk him 4 times a game and not feel any remorse whatsoever. There's nobody in that offense that's, damn, we have to pitch around that guy other than Judge. And Torres had a great year. I love what Glaber did. I'm glad we didn't trade him or whatnot. And I do believe he is still in the long-term plans. I think we should go back and get Urshela, bring him back. We should never trade him to begin with. I love Gio Urshela. I did. In essence, you traded Urshela for IKF. Because Donaldson's not a part of the trade, because you DFA'd him, you ate his contract. You see what I'm saying? So what are you going to do to bring help to Judge? Because they need a Jenny Jones makeover. All right? They need a lot of work, bro. They're not anywhere near contending for a championship right now. And with our payroll, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
That's why it's them. That's why it's them.
I'm going to say personally, it's the Mets as a bigger disappointment to me because, again, I feel like as soon as they re-sign Brian Cashman and Boone, I knew that this is just not gonna go anywhere. It's just gonna be a repeat.
Agreed.
It's gonna be a repeat.
Run it back.
They're just gonna run it back. And Brian Cashman did these moves with bringing some guys that are older and often injured. So I knew that there was gonna be injury plagues coming after us and everything. But I really have to say the Mets because obviously I think that Buck Showalter is a better manager than Aaron Boone. Matter of fact, Aaron Boone ain't really a real manager because at least Buck goes with his gut. And I think that it was finally time for Buck to finally be a world champion. Now, I will say that I don't think maybe necessarily they would have made the World Series because you still had to go to the Braves. And the Braves, they're just the best team in baseball. They're one of the best teams I've ever seen in all my life is watching baseball. But you guys had Justin Verlander. I already knew that Max Scherzer was already shot.
Yeah.
You got
But he could have gave you some.
You got the polar bear. You still got Nemo. You still got your farm system is not all that great, but
Lindor.
Lindor,
there.
yeah, Lindor.
yeah, but then the injury to Lindor. I don't know if Edwin Diaz was going to be a good closer or not, but there was still at least the hope because what he did in Seattle. Maybe he just needed to be unlocked. And I actually saw this team going farther than the Yankees did because at least the prospects were there and the hype was it. And yeah, the Yankees got Garrett Cole, but Justin Verlander's just a beast. And I don't know how Max Scherzer would have like really salvaged this. And I just had more confidence going into the Mets doing a little bit further than the Yankees because at least I saw some changes and I saw that Stevie Cohen was willing to spend whatever to make sure that this is a championship caliber team. And I also give them props for realizing that when it was all going to shit, yeah, just blow it up, fire sale, get rid of everybody. Let's just revamp for next year. But it's just the arrogance of the Yankees, the arrogance that just made me realize that I know what's going to come. And that's why I'm not fully, if anything, I'm just mad that I'm right. That's what I'm mad at. But as far as like expectations, I would say to me that the bigger disappointment was the Mets.
They're analytics guys now. That's the most frustrating part. And listen, I'm not mad at analytics. You got to evolve with the times. Every team has an analytics department. So I'm not saying don't do analytics or just completely ignore it altogether. I'm not saying that, but it can't be the be all end all. You know what I'm saying?
You don't want to look at analytics like it's like in this day and age with social media. Yeah. Everybody wants to add, oh, are you a Libra or a Taurus or a Gemini or whatever? That's going to be like the guide for you to find the love of your life. That's what this generation is doing right now. And that's what the analytics are doing with baseball right now. Like we have to follow a chapter and verse like the Bible in order to get us to the championship. But I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. But it's the arrogance. And I know that some computer genius is probably making more money than I ever will, just crunching up numbers for an organization that he probably never even watched baseball day in his life.
When we get to the winter meetings, when we get to free agency, we're gonna do a super show on it. Hopefully, we'll have you guys back for that. Yeah. I gotta see what our teams respectively do. I already know what you got. You guys are banking on your prospects, and you guys got to pay Polar Bear. His contract's coming out.
Yes,
so that's where your focus is right now.
I think that you guys are getting ready to make the jump for 2025 because I think 2024 is going to be a real.
That's a rebuild. That's a rebuild. That's part of the rebuild.
Now I don't know what you guys are going to do. I don't know what you guys are going to do a manager because I don't want Buck Showalter to be a lame duck coach where he knows he's going to be just gone by the end of the year with the team not going anywhere, and then they bring somebody else. God knows if it's Gabe Kapler who just got fired from the Giants now. But I don't know. Yeah, but I think that you guys are, when you guys knew that something was up, you guys didn't wait and you guys didn't get arrogant like the Yankees. So that's why going forward, I have a little bit more confidence in you guys going up because as long as Brian Cashman is still the GM for the Yankees, bro, show me. Brian Cashman was the one that said, we want to win championships, not championship. Guess what? It's been over a decade since you won your last one. So either shit or get off the pot.
Yeah. Facts.
All right, so we're gonna put a ball on this episode real quick, but guys, thank you so much for coming through. This has been a lot of fun. I can't wait to have you guys again.
Yes, sir.
But let's get to the meat and potatoes of the show, as Marvel liked to say. It is now time for our Clown of the Week segment, and I'm gonna start it off with my guest here. I'm gonna let Carlos go ahead first as your nomination for a Clown of the Week.
Oh man,
Zach Wilson.
Like I told you before, I didn't know what position I was going to go, but so my first.
That's what she said.
I'm going to have to go with Evan, man. Evan from Evan.
Oh, Evan and Tiki.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Evan, I need to do this.
Did it call for Tim Boyle to start?
Yeah. Listen, Evan was going in saying that not only should Tim Boyle start, right, but he also said that there are better options in free agency, and he went and named Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan,
Johnny Manziel, Colin Kaepernick.
I think he might even said Colin Kaepernick.
My God.
I don't know, but for him to say that either Boyle or any other free agent gives the Jets a better chance to win than Zach Wilson, I don't know if he was just being emotional, but yes, there's no way none of those guys he mentioned are going to give the Jets a better chance than Zach Wilson. And man, I truly feel that he was being emotional. Right?
Just a little bit.
Yeah. And I don't think he truly, I hope he didn't truly mean that because that was a ridiculous take.
You know what I think it is? I think it's a mixture of emotion and due to the fact that WFAN is in a tailspin right now where it looks like ever since their old A&R director who got replaced by a new guy who's trying to fix up a whole bunch of stuff going into the whole culture and everything, I think that now they're trying to be that radio station that's all for clickbait. I feel like that's what WFAN is doing right now. Like they're just saying things now for clickbait. Like that's why you have Brandon Tierney and Sal Licata together because they just all day they just scream at each other just for the ratings and stuff like that. And they added Tiki Barber in the afternoon because they wanted to add diversity because with the exception of Kevin McPherson, he's the only African American that they got there, and they wanted to put him in after.
Oh, they're hot take guys now.
Yeah.
Yes,
Fan,
exactly.
The fan is ESPN now.
Yeah.
Yes,
they're hot take
ESPN and
guys.
Jace. Yeah.
Tierney said some other shit.
About Salah. Yeah.
Tierney would have never pulled that while he was at CBS, by the way.
I didn't hear this.
Did he call for Tim?
Did you ever meet Tiggy and Tina at CBS?
No, I did their show, but before it ended, which is funny, I did a couple episodes for graphics, but I never got to meet him because I would be in the studio in Manhattan, and they would be like at home, for example, doing it like via Zoom.
Got you.
He came to my school. He came to St. Benedict's as a guest speaker. And
Tiki or Tiki? Okay.
Tiki came, yeah, for sure. And I was trolling him over the Cowboys. Yeah.
Your clown of the week is.
Actually, Carlos, you set me up right, man. Because when I tell you this man that is the clown in my eyes right now, I really used to look up to him and understand what his message was and what he was trying to get across. But it feels like lately you trying to do anything for attention. And I'm going to give the clown award to Colin Kaepernick.
Out of left field.
Man, sis.
I'm going to hit 50 Savages in post. I'm going to break the button.
I read the letter.
Goodness.
I understand what you were trying to do. But, brother, you look sad doing it. How?
Thirsty.
What made you think? First of all, you almost 36, bro. What made you think that the state of the New York Jets, they was going to call on you, of all people?
You're 36. That's a clip right there.
Little LA night.
and shout out to his homie J. Cole, who thought I put in a little word. I reach out, see what I can do for you. You wasn't doing nothing because nothing was going to happen. For real, man. Look, I just want Kaepernick. The problem that I'm having is that he put himself in this position and we understood what he was standing up for, right? The message was clear. But now lately, the way you've been trying to come back into the NFL and after the tryout, we know you got a check from the NFL.
$10 million.
Okay.
Millie.
So just talk to me. Tell me without telling me the money's running out. That's so fun.
Yo, the face.
You know
It's
what
the
I mean?
face. It's the face.
That's all. And I'm just disappointed about it. And it was you know what? He tried to break down. I see what the problem is. I see what you got going on. He tried to sell himself.
Like a job interview. Like a cover letter.
Yeah.
That's like a CV.
Do you
Send
think
it
he
to
used
Indeed.com.
ChatGPT for that?
Yeah, I think so.
For sure, dude. Imagine reporting that out.
Yeah.
Yo.
Because ain't no way.
Yo.
There's no way.
He said, you're 36, bro.
Yeah, man.
Savage stuff. Oh man, my clown of the. Oh my God, where do I start? This guy.
I know it's one or two people already.
This guy. I want to name one guy, but he'll get his probably next week. I'm gonna wait his next week for sure. This week, unequivocally, it goes to Stephen A. Smith.
I know it. I knew he was one of those dudes.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? I worked on this man's show. Well, the Michael Erickson Dyson episode on the Stephen A. Smith show before when it was No Mercy. I had this man's vocals. He's a really good actor, bro. Like Jerry Jones should send
He plays General Hospital.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Like Jerry Jones should send this man an invoice because he has made a fortune off of talking about the Dallas Cowboys. When the Cowboys lose, this buffoon goes out of his way to make a slow pan video of him laughing. Now, when they win, they can have a 4 or 5 game winning streak. You won't hear from Mans. You won't hear from him. But the second they lose, this guy's got his phone queued up to go live. Slow pan. What can go wrong will go wrong. Wait till first take tomorrow. He is Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey. He is a clown and a half.
He
bro.
definitely waiting on your downfall.
He is. And it's an accident waiting to happen. Great impersonation.
Thank you.
The song and dance is going to run out one day. And I'm glad you guys can see it. You guys can witness it. Mark my words. This week's Clown of the Week, Stephen A. Smith. Your Monday after, when the Cowboys do win the Super Bowl, don't know when that's going to be. I pray I'm alive to see it. The morning after the Cowboys win the Super Bowl, this clown can't wait after saying his whatever. They're not repeating. I'm going to win next season. I'm not going to win this season because the accident might have, it didn't happen yet. Or whatever. With all his big words and his fancy soliloquies and his hairline that's on his neck. You know what I mean? Like, he is a clown and a half. And he couldn't wait to say that basically this is the beginning of the end. In week 3, really? Really? When Kansas City lost to Detroit, was it the beginning of the end of Kansas City? Is it the beginning of the end for Baltimore losing to the Colts and Gardner Minshew going in the ball? Is it really the Jags losing to Houston? Houston had how many wins last year? Is it the beginning? No. A Cowboy loss counts for 5 losses, according to that guy. And it's comical. So he's the clown. He'll always be the clown. He's the clown of clowns. That's what he is. Wow. If there was a clown Hall of Fame, he'd be there with a gold jacket and a red nose.
By the way, Marv, I think we need to get some Benny Hill music for this segment going forward. Anyway,
big fact.
Yeah. All right, now it's time for my clown of the week.
Oh, I can't wait. I think I know this one, but
I don't think so. I think this is going to surprise you guys.
Okay.
Yeah. I really think you're not going to. You guys might even disagree with me or think I'm a hack or whatever, but I don't care. I'm going to say this.
Is it Zach Wilson?
No, it is not. He's the clown. He's the clown of the year.
Savage.
Yeah, no.
All the savages. Goodness.
Yeah, but anyway, one thing that I can't stand is like people not getting their way or getting disappointed because they are so confident, and then afterwards they have to get all butthurt when something doesn't happen. It's like when that kid wants that Hot Wheels toy and they don't get it. They've been coming Christmas and they don't get it. And yeah. I'm going to tell this person, like Maria told me a couple of years ago, you lost, bro. Clown of the week is Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler calling out the NBA, you need to do temper. Looking up there, look like Lil Yachty and Erykah Badu had a baby together. I don't think so, man. No, you lost. Forget it. Milwaukee was able to get a great deal from Portland, and now you want to act butthurt and want to say that the NBA needs to do some tempering. Shut up. Do me a favor, try to go back to the world, to the NBA championship before you guys had Damian Lillard. Sorry, he wanted to go to Milwaukee, and he wanted to go with Giannis.
And I just read this, that Dame actually wanted to go to Miami, but Portland didn't want to send him there. That was like the last,
They're not in what he wanted. The same way how Donovan, when he wanted to come to New York, they weren't sending him there.
Facts.
No, they weren't.
You know that trading him is going to set you back, regardless of what you get back. It's going to set you back a couple years. I'm not about to acquiesce and give you what you want. I'm about to take a L. So you're going to go where I tell you to go. So this isn't mad.
My trash is not going to be your jewel, okay?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So Jimmy Butler, clown of the week, looking like Lil Yachty and Erykah Badu had a baby. Take rocks.
I just want everybody to know this energy that Jason has is for all those South Beach friends of his. They like the East. Every time he goes back to South Florida, I already know. Yes. And I shouldn't have been surprised when he dropped it. As soon as he said Jimmy Butler, I said, "Whoa, this is coming from the soul."
He's been waiting to drop this one. You've been waiting.
You ain't got the answers, Jimmy. You ain't got the answers.
What's the intro to Sunday Night Football? I've been waiting all day for Sunday night. He's been waiting all Friday for your bravery.
That was
all right, fellas, I needed to get that off my chest. I'm glad you were able to get that off that chest. And everybody, thank you for listening to Yo BTV Sports. I'm glad I said it right because I thought I was going to mess it up. But thank you so much, guys. Hugo, I've been enjoying doing the show with you for quite some time.
Yes,
I'm glad that we were able to add Carlos and Des to it. I definitely want you guys on. I'm a little angel on my bird is on my shoulders trying to tell me that I want you guys full time. But you know what? That's neither here nor there. I'm just glad that you guys came through, man. Definitely looking forward to it. So real quick, where can they find you guys on social media?
Yes.
Go ahead, Carlos.
So Instagram at Carlos_financial_coach. Carlos Financial Coach. You can find me on there, giving out some advice, free advice for everybody. Get their credit, get their finances in order, all that good stuff.
Mr. Finance.
Yeah, you heard, ladies and gentlemen, student loans is back, so get up this man real quick.
If you'd like to see me and my gorgeous family and my wonderful vacations,
beautiful
you can follow
family,
me at Desi_Slice on Instagram. But if you'd like the Power After Dark hour of talk, you can follow me on Twitter at Boss Daddy Desi.
He's got the voice for it.
I was about to say, we getting all Lenny Green on us right now.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. So if you follow me on Twitter, you know what it is. But if you follow me on Instagram, you know what it is.
Tom Joyner over. You know the deal. You Go Boy 88. That's on everything: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Of course, we got a second channel that is actually in the works. So the full podcast library is going to move over to possibly. We haven't settled on a name yet. I'm still working it out with my team. It might be tentatively. It's going to be You Go Boy Media. So we'll have 2 channels. One exclusively for music. That's closing in on 1 million views on the channel, and the second one, which will be exclusively for the podcast and podcast clips. But right now, u-goboy.com, ugoboy88 on everything. That's it.
And ladies and gentlemen, you can find me at Jason Enrique _ on all social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Threads, all of them. Don't forget to like, subscribe on YouTube at First Class Second Place. And if you're looking to start a podcast, hit up Bravery Studios. Shout out to Marv and lovely Garfield, New Jersey, 70 Outwater Lane, Garfield, New Jersey. Bravery. Ladies and gentlemen, as the New Yorkers would say, we out.